Hello and welcome to today's episode of Tech Rules Uncovered. As you know, my name is Sarah and I'm one of the founders of the Tech Leaders Academy. We do trainings and online events specifically for tech professionals, and one of these events is the one you join right now. This one is called Tech Roles Uncovered. And here we are talking about different roles in tech, always with a wonderful guest. And as we are live, you can interact with us. This means you can ask your questions or share any kind of experience that you have and write us a message. Therefore, you can use the different comment sections on the platforms on which we are streaming. This is LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. And today we are talking about the technical account manager, and therefore I invited Tobias Gärtner. Tobias is technical account manager at Google. And before that, he worked at one of Europe's largest insurance companies. And there, Tobias worked in different roles. And so I'm very curious first how he entered the role as a technical account manager, what he finds most of all interesting in this role, and of course, what it's like to work at Google. So here is Tobias. Welcome, Tobias.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So, how is it going?
So far, so good. So I haven't been asked any questions yet that I can't answer. So I'm really looking forward to this.
Nice. Thank you for taking the time, first of
Sure.
all. And I prepared a small icebreaker question for you. And I think this one is really perfect for you. So the question is, if you had to delete all of your apps from your smartphones except of three, which ones would you keep and why? Of
Ooh.
course.
Actually, it is pretty easy. So I would keep my Chrome browser
Mhm.
because it is the gateway to the internet. Simple choice. Second choice would be most likely. It's actually a mean question because the point is I was thinking of two other apps. So my natural choice would be Gmail and Google Maps because I need to read my messages and I need to know where I am and where to go to. Problem is they're all browser based. I don't need the apps. So Chrome is actually enough. So I don't know what kind of other two apps I would use. So Chrome's
You go
probably
with
enough.
one.
I
You
go with
go with
one.
one, and you definitely go with the internet connection, and all the rest is done because you
Yeah.
can log into all the other services right away.
Yeah.
Perfect. I think that's the best answer someone from Google could give, right?
It's the only answer one from Google could give.
Great. So, yeah, let's switch to the main part. Probably, would you like to introduce us a little bit? So, maybe especially where do you come from? Not originally, so from a career perspective. So, where's your background? What did you do at this huge insurance company, which I mentioned, and how would you pronounce this insurance company in English? So, what is the common sense? Because yeah, I tend not to name it because I don't know how to name it in English, actually.
Okay. So first things first. So I've studied what everyone should study who is in IT, and that is English and theology. So it is a natural choice for two reasons. The first one is more or less all IT is in English. So the books, the YouTube videos, the tutorials, the UI. Yes, there are translations, but let's be honest, German translations or whatever kind of translations of UIs is most cases not the best. So English is of course a natural choice. And the second one is not that obvious, but if you think of it, it makes sense. So theologians believe in things they can't see and can't touch, right? They believe that there are rules they don't have to understand, but they're just rules and they just exist and you can't change them. And the third one is you rather start to believe that things happen in a span of centuries, or at least decades, rather than minutes, days, or months. So perfect for IT. So you can't programs. You have to believe in some dogmas, and if you happen to work for larger companies, things don't happen within minutes or days, but rather weeks, months, or years. So a natural choice.
Well, wait.
Okay.
While you were studying theology and English,
Yes.
was it also, or was it already your idea to go into IT?
No, actually not. So I come from a family and a background where I was the first one to do a high school degree. So I went to uni and said, well, what can you study? So the natural choice would be become a doctor, become a reverend or priest, or a teacher. I don't like the working hours of a reverend. I can't see blood, and I don't want to live off my hands' work because most stuff is too nimble, and I don't want to have the responsibility. So teacher was the natural choice. So I was doing a lot of linguistics in my bachelor's and master's degree, and actually published some articles and some books about that. Point is, if you approach linguistics from a teacher's perspective, it's most cases guess counting stuff, preparing some bar charts, and then saying this bar is larger than that bar, so I see something here. And I was like, this isn't enough. I want to have more. So I asked the people in my sports course who did mathematics or economics, asked them, how can I analyze that? And they told me to go to statistics courses, which I did. So I found out that I need to calculate much more and I have to count much more. And since I'm a lazy guy, I said, well, I have to learn programming then. So I learned programming, I learned statistics, and did my research. So I ended up working for the university, and most of us found out that university doesn't pay well, and you don't get a permanent job. So I had to leave, and I did a small gig for a pharmaceutical company. It was just six weeks, right? Cleaning data, tidying data, putting stuff into databases. Nothing fancy, but the name was great, and this name opened some doors. So someone with a master's degree in education won't get a job in IT. But someone who has worked for a pharmaceutical company as a data analyst, this person gets a job. So I got this job with this small, back then very small, startup in Frankfurt. Great place to work there. I'd love to stay there. Problem was my family lives in Hanover, where I currently still live. So I wanted to go back. And I joined this company, which is called HDI.
You mean the insurance company in Germany? We say HDI.
Yes.
And I think for the German watchers, they have known it definitely. But I think HDI, I don't know. I haven't heard it before. That's why I was mentioning it, that in particular, that I find it awkward to say HDI. But okay, you name it, HDI.
Frankly speaking, so I was sitting in Frankfurt, and I said, well, I want to go back to Hanover, and I want to work for a bank because that's what I did in Frankfurt. So I opened Wikipedia, said, what's the largest companies in Hanover? And I went from top to bottom and searched for a bank, and there was no large bank. Sorry, not LB. So I said, well, an insurance company is almost as good as a bank, so let's apply there. I applied to work there as a data scientist. Problem was, yes, they had data, but it in a data warehouse. And doing data science with SQL is a pain, unless, of course, you have BigQuery, where it is much fun because you have all the algorithms already implemented. So they asked me to set up a data lake. So I switched from data scientist to data engineer, and data architect. So I set up this
Mhm.
data lake. And apparently the CISO liked it that much that he asked me to join his security squad, which I did. Although I told him, I've got no bloody clue of security. I said, well, I'll teach you. So I worked for them. Later on, joined the industrial lines part of HDI. So going global, great place to work there. Was working there as a solutions architect. And after 5 years working for HDI, I thought this couldn't be everything. So I had a look around, thought, well, I love data. I love playing around with data, and which is the most data-driven, data-prone company you could think of? Google. And so I applied and got the job. And here
Mhm.
I am.
And here you are.
Yeah, I am.
Nice story. So, lessons learned is everything that you need on the job, you learn on the job, isn't it? Some kind of.
Yes. But my main learning is there are always opportunities.
Mhm.
And it doesn't make sense to plan something ahead. So it doesn't work to say, I want to work for Google in 5 years. It works to see opportunity and to grab it when it shows up, and to learn something and to grow and to progress,
Mhm.
and to look for new opportunities.
Mhm. And when exactly did you start it or have been starting at Google? Is it around six months ago or longer?
Yeah, roughly. I was an April's Fool's joke, so I
Mhm.
started on April 1st. So roughly 6 months ago.
Okay. And now you are working as a technical account manager. How would
Yes.
you define your role in one or two sentences, just to give it a brief start?
It's complicated to summarize that in two or three
That's why
sentences.
we are doing this series.
Okay.
That's why, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll most likely need more than two sentences. So it is a role that makes sure that your investment in a cloud transformation isn't in vain,
Mhm.
and that you manage the risk of going to the cloud.
Mhm.
If I may, I would I would like to use more than two sentences. Um, so the basic idea is moving from a traditional on-prem data center to the cloud is a huge step. So back in the old days, in a data center, you had admins, you had developers, you had ops people. A developer was developing software on a server, and the server was given to that person, and they program something, they put it on the server, and they've got a second server for UAT and a third server for production. And they just
Mhm.
push it to production and it runs. Don't beat me for that, but this is the old world. And now you mentioned the new world. You get a Google Cloud project, and you
Mhm.
get the responsibility for it. And you do not just have one server, but you can have literally thousands or 10,000s or 100,000s of servers. You can use world-spanning SQL databases, and just with a click and just within a Terraform script. And this is a huge change. And companies, especially traditional companies, struggle there.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what Google says is they want to support their customers to have the best transition to the cloud possible.
Mhm.
So they get people who help them succeed. And this is,
Mhm.
for instance, a ton.
Yeah. So, how much did your work change from being a solution architect transitioning into a technical account manager?
A lot, a lot. The solution architect was someone embedded in a safe environment, so scheduled agile framework.
Mhm.
So you have systems architects who develop and design systems, And you've got enterprise architects who just transform strategy into architectures. And you've got the solution architect in the middle who stitches everything together. And we had domains, so it was responsible for security and data and some integration patterns. So it was rather limited. And now I have the full Monty. So if a customer comes along and says, I've got a problem with my network infrastructure, I really hate networks. My network comes out of a socket in the wall. I can't say I've got no clue about that. I have to help the customer. And helping the customer in this case could mean I have to understand the problem and I have to find someone who can help this customer. So I've got the full Monty, the full OC layers from networks to AI, to LLMs, to data, to infrastructure, to security, the entire GCP cloud. So this
a
is
bit like
this
a consultant also, a bit like a consultant because you have a close customer contact. And then also like a translator, because you translate the customer needs into a technical solution. And there, like in other companies, you would say maybe this is then a solution architect role, but maybe that's the mixture of your role right now, as I understand it. So, or dare me if I'm wrong.
Yes, but this is just a part of the job. So you've got the technical part of things, but you also have the financial part of things. So I help customers save money, right? So I regularly look into the spending of the customer and say, hey, you can save some few hundred quid here, you can save a few thousand quid there, just by shutting down idling servers, by improving networks, by improving databases, right? I've got a huge a bunch of tasks. I mean, you can have a look. It's public what I do. There are many services that go far beyond just the technical expertise you need as a solution architect.
Yeah, I think we will dig deep inside that when later when we are seeing your chart. I think let's do it right now. I think it fits perfectly here because you provided me with some details in advance. So how would you structure or categorize your task depending on the time it takes from your day-to-day work? And let's bring it here. Yes, here it is. And that's the kind of distribution that you gave to me. And maybe we can go into more detail from left to right, starting with the customer care, which takes about 35% of time.
Just a quick comment on that one. So this is my reading of my calendar. So this can vary from technical account manager to technical account manager. And it can vary whether you are in the field or whether you are a product manager for the TAM services. So this is just my personal gut feeling of what I do every day. So don't beat me if someone has a different opinion on that. So customer care, so sitting together with the customer, trying to understand what the customer needs, trying to help customers 35% of 1 week, give or take.
Do you have, or how many customers are you working with currently? Approximately, just give us a range.
2. So you can get a TAM in different flavors. So you can have a named TAM that is someone you know by name and that pops in when you need them. I'm not one of them. I'm a dedicated TAM. So I'm solely responsible for one customer. And what we do is we split accounts so that if I'm overrun by a bus, they at least have a second. Things happen. You never know whom you cross. So maybe you're thrown under the bus. Anyway, So in case of holidays, illnesses, whatever, you want to have a second time, you can pick up what the other one left. So in case there's a very urgent support case, someone can pick it up. So I've got 2 customers right now, and I take care of them. But you have to keep in mind, we're talking about large enterprises. We're not talking
Yes.
about small, some medium companies have time services because they've got such a large footprint. But in most cases, we're talking about corporates and big enterprises. So yes, it is officially just one customer, but within this customer, you know the drill. There's so many different parties, so many different departments, so many different organizations that it's actually more than just the 2 customers, but just two logos. So 35%.
Okay. So you have regular meetings with a customer or regular check-ins where you are checking on the projects, how it's running, checking also costs and so on? Or is it just they call you by accident when they have something that is really urgent and then, you're ringing the firebell like that?
It's no. So I have regular meetings with people we work close with. We have different meetings depending on what we do. So, for instance, we can do a disaster recovery drill. So I meet with different people than I would do if I gave a Gen AI training. So we've got stuff we do on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, on a biannually and a biannual basis. And depending on what we are doing right now, we meet with different people. Right? For instance, cost optimization is a different team than if we talk about support cases. So it really varies, but we have regular meetings with the key stakeholders.
Okay. So what do you mean by the 20% of concept and design task? What is actually this category about?
So let's say you want to do this disaster recovery drill case, right? So you want to try out what happens if your prod has some issues, and you do a tabletop exercise with them. So you want to try, does it actually work to do the failover? Does it actually work to raise the incident? Do we get the right tickets? Do we get the right people in the room? And since this is very customer focused, I have to prepare that. And that is concept and design. So I don't design IT systems for them, but I design, for instance, such events or trainings or whatever.
And the next bucket is the 20% of meetings. Do you mean internal meetings or also include the customer meetings that you mentioned before already?
This is a mixture of both. So our team meetings, our account meetings, all these meetings.
A question that comes to my mind quite spontaneously. So with whom are you most of all working together, closely together, besides the customer, obviously? So who's in your team and how big is your team?
So again, it depends on the customer. So you have people like account executives. So someone who owns the account. You've got sales reps, who is my financial counterpart. So sales reps sound so much like they're selling stuff, but they take care of the contracts, they take care of the spending and all of that. You've got technical account manager, and this is the heart center of the account. And you have customer engineers. So depending what the customer wants, you have a fixed set of customer engineers or people associated with the account. So depending what you need, you ask for help or do it yourself.
So you're pairing together in a group of let's say cross-functional. So you have some engineers, you have someone who is really accountable for the account. Interesting wording, but the account representative, as you mentioned, or executive,
Yeah.
that one. And then you have like you, technical account managers.
Yes. And by the way, I'm also accountable for the account. Just a different perspective on that. So our customers are regularly asked, how satisfied are you with the support service, and how satisfied are you with the TAM service? So I'm also responsible and accountable for how the account develops, just differently than the sales rep, for instance.
Yeah. And I can assume that your most of all, like your performance is definitely measured, or to some extent measured, by how satisfied your customers are.
Yes, yes. So I mean, Google is two things. It is a very data-driven company, so they love data. So they don't trust something like free text, but they want to have solid numbers, solid data. And it is an American company, so they like their expectations set out in the beginning of the year, and to have a look whether you accomplished these expectations.
Yeah. And for you, it's like, I would, as I said, assume that's most of the time depending on the satisfaction of a customer, or at least to a big extent.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Nice. So continuing with the next bucket, what is exactly behind the bucket support cases? It takes 20% of your time, estimation.
So this is, I mean, this is one of the reasons why you have a technical account manager. So you raise a ticket and say, this is a P1 ticket. So something very urgent has happened. Please help. And you raise this ticket with a support unit that doesn't know you. Right? They're trained professionals. They're very good at their job. But every company is specific. And they're specific in their needs, specific in their architecture, specific in the way they frame something. So I'm there to be the first one with the fire extinguisher. So if P1 pops up, I have a look at it and say, we need support can handle that. It's a standard case. We need a customer engineer right away to help. I can help. Or close the case, you could have read the public documentation. Why on earth did you raise this ticket? And so, I mean, these companies are very technically driven. So when for instance, the website of a retail company is down, they're losing real money. So when a support ticket comes up with our shop is down, someone has to be there to help straight away. And this would be support, and me as a support of the support.
So I think this is a 24/7 support line.
Yes.
But you have, like, are you working in shifts, or is this something that cannot pop up at your desk when, like, you're not at work?
It pops up at my desk, but I'm not always there to help.
Okay. Yeah. Like, this reminds me a lot of my very first live stream that I had with Manu from GitLab. He is a support engineer, and he has, like, of course, he's specializing only on helping accounts with support cases. But I find it interesting that it's also part of the technical account manager role, at least at Google. And this is new to me. I hadn't thought about that, or I hadn't expected that, to be honest.
Yeah, but it is a very important part of the job. I mean, we're not there to just have flashy parties with the customer.
Yeah,
But
true. And it makes completely sense.
yeah, we're there to grab a shovel and start digging.
Yeah. So you're there for designing new solutions to oversee the costs, but also help with like urgent problems. And then it all comes together somehow at your table.
Yes, but I'm not designing new solutions. This is very important. We
Mm-hmm.
don't design new solutions and we don't develop stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Then I think I misunderstood or maybe pronounced it in a false way.
No, no worries.
All right, cool. So, last but not least, you mentioned that 5% of your time you spend with training. Do you mean the training that you give for the customer, or is it your own development?
Yes, both.
Both. Okay.
Both. Um, so I mean, if you have a look at IT, it is always a combination of two things. It is a combination of technology, and we are very good with technology. Um, and the second one is process, and the third one is people.
Mhm.
And you have to have all three of them. Otherwise, the best technology won't help you if you don't have it implemented into business processes,
Mhm.
and if you don't have the right people, and if you don't train the people. So it is part of my job to have a look at the abilities of the customers and to plan with the customer what kind of training they need. And
Mhm.
obviously, this only works if we as Google employees are top notch as well. So we get a lot of training, internal and external, to be top notch.
Mhm. Yeah. Good. So now I'm turning to the people that are watching us right now. We have a couple of minutes left, so we haven't received any questions so far. So if you have something on your mind, write us in the comments and then we will answer it right away. You can ask what any comes to your mind. Let's see if we can answer it, but if we do, we will definitely. And yeah, meanwhile, let's continue with the next part. So, as we have seen, like the different types of tasks and responsibilities that you have as a technical account manager, how would you then summarize like a typical day as a TAM, as you mentioned?
There isn't a typical day usually. Yes, you have those regular meetings. Yes, you have some tasks which are repetitive. But in most cases, it's either project work. So you prepare a workshop, you hold a workshop, you talk to the customer what kind of workshops they need.
Mhm.
Um, you extinguish fires, you have a look at the support cases, and depending on what is happening each day looks differently.
Still, you have some routines in your day. So you start most of the time at the same time and end it? Or is it
Um,
also very flexible and you use it in a flexible way as well?
so it is my employer is very generous, and they trust me with working hours.
Mhm.
So my employer doesn't have expressed working hours and expressed schedules.
Mhm.
But I've got a I've got two sons, and with two sons, I've got a very strict schedule. So I've got a mixture of both. So I'm there when the customer needs me, and I work hard, I play hard, and I've got a family that needs a scaffolding to get the day by.
Mhm. And everything then is built around the family schedule.
It's not not
Not
necessarily, but it is a great balance. Let's put
yeah,
it that way.
yeah. Nice. So, like I see it that way. we have the technical account manager with two main focuses. You have the technical focusee and the customer focusee, to make it very easy to describe. What do you think are the most important technical skills that you need to bring as a technical account manager at Google? Like, make it really specific. If there is no specific answer, we can also generalize or make some assumptions.
So each and every one of us has some strong suits and some weaknesses.
Mhm.
I, for instance, am good with data and software development. I'm not that very great at infrastructure and networking. I can cover those topics fair enough. I've got some colleagues who um, can configure on a global network at 3 a.m. after they had 5 beers in a perfect matter based on best practices, but they don't know how to run a Spark cluster, for instance. So we've got our strong suits, our weaknesses. A good architectural foundation is good, and not only being theoretical, but having some hands-on experience helps too.
Yeah.
And all the rest you'll learn.
Mhm. And for the not technical skills?
We've got a very great support from Google. So we've got playbooks, and they teach you exactly what you have to do.
Mhm.
So maybe the only skill you really should have is being good at English, because
Mhm.
everything is in English.
And I think you definitely do. I think you are the one with the best pronunciation so far in these live streams. And I'm really happy to hear that, because it's really, really good, really nice.
Thank you. I feel
It's good to
flattered.
hear that.
I feel flattered. At least the 5 years of studying English aren't in vain.
Yes, definitely not. Last week, you published something on LinkedIn. You showed us a Coursera certificate about speaking. I think you did some certification about improve your
Yeah.
speaking skills.
Yes.
Why you did that? Why did you do it? And what was the main motivation for it? Do you need that for your job?
So it is a mixture of two things. The first one is Google supports us in our personal development. So they support us not only when we do technical educations, but also social skills. And one of
Mhm.
these social skills is public speaking. And this is something I wanted to do because I always had the feeling that I just do it out of a gut feeling,
Mhm.
but that it can be polished. And polishing that was one of the things I did with this course. And a great recommendation to do some side things, not just to focus on technology. Because
Yeah.
in the end of the day, it doesn't help you to be the best programmer or the best admin or the best architect if you can't communicate it. By the way, there are some questions.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Thank you. It didn't pop up. So, thank you for mentioning that. I will bring it on stage. So, hello, Saravanan. How good to manage services be started only when it be needed and have it down when no work is expected on a daily basis?
Okay. Yeah, I understand the question. It really depends what you want to do. So obviously, if you have something server based, right? So you have developed some software and you want to put it on the server because you want to run and control the server. You can have a scheduler, something like a cron job that starts the server at 9 o'clock when everyone starts working and shuts it down at 5 o'clock. This is something you could do. You could use a Kubernetes cluster. You could use a Kubernetes cluster that is breathing. So it starts new pods when you need them, and it shuts it down when you don't need them. And you've got fully managed services which just start when you need them. So something like Google Functions, for instance, or Cloud Run. So it really depends what you want to do, depending on the service. So Terraform might be a good start, and cron jobs and scheduling. So reach out. We need to have a closer look at what you want to do to answer that question.
Thank you very much. I will hide it again. Yes, I'm not seeing the questions. So for my man in the background, so if there are coming more questions, please. There comes another question. What are the core qualities, skills in order to one, qualify for the TAM role, and two, be good at it?
Mm-hmm. So it is a mixture of different things. So one of the core qualities is your IT know-how. Obviously, I mean, you can be as good as you are with all the different skills. So Ron, no worries. Again, reach out if you have further questions. So you have to be good at the IT bit, and there is no way around it. There is also no way around being able to communicate. You need to be able to ask the right questions, gather enough information to do a data-driven decision. Just gut feeling and being lucky doesn't help. And the third one is something Google describes as googliness. So just being good at what you do isn't enough, right? So I don't want to describe it as being a nice person, but I think being a nice and curious and open-minded person is what best describes googliness.
Mm-hmm.
And this combination is what is needed for more or less every role at Google, and for a time in specific. And then, yeah, to be good at it, it's again the same combination. Plus, you have to fit with the customer. So there are people out there who like me, and there are people who don't like me. So it has to fit with the customer.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think this is something people really underestimate, the effect of coming along with a customer. And this is something that you cannot always plan for. So as you just mentioned, there are people and you feel a match, you understand each other. There's this typical word of chemistry. And there are people where you don't have it. And even though if you bring all the qualities for being a good choice for a TAM, it can happen that you meet some customers and it's not the best match that you can have.
Yeah, indeed.
Good, Tobias. We are already almost at the end of our time, and I have two more questions that I really want to ask you. So let's make it quick together. The first one is, what is the best thing so far working at Google?
You get in touch with people you would usually not meet. So we've got a company structure and a role profile structure which allows, for instance, former CEOs of large tech companies to work as individual contributors. So there are people like me without employees and subordinates who just contribute. And you can actually meet them and sit together with them. And you cannot just pop into a NASDAQ or DAX corporates and talk to the CEO. But these people are working for Google. And you can approach them and you can meet with them. And you meet so many bright and clever people from whom you can learn. And this is something I really, really appreciate. There was a second question, I think.
Yes, the second question comes now, the final question. Is there anything that you would state as some kind of booster that really made your career that really brought your career to a next level? This can be some kind of certification, some kind of course you attended. This can be a human that you just met, or any kind of maybe mentoring. whatever it is.
This is something you, as tech leaders academy, most likely don't want to hear. It's not a certificate. It is.
Fine.
It is not a course. It is the people you meet, and the core skill you have to have is the willingness, not the capability, the willingness to learn.
Mhm.
So, for instance, at HDI, I met a colleague, a very seasoned colleague, from whom I learned so much that helps me incredibly much, and he was most likely one of the reasons I got the job at Google. And it's not technical stuff.
Mhm.
It is understanding business, understanding how people make money, how business politics works. And I'm really thankful to him.
Yeah. And I can definitely agree that I would also not mention like a course or a certificate as the main career booster, just to be very honest. It can open or set your mindset in a specific direction, which is beneficial. But most of the time, the real career booster is the network and the people that you're interacting with. And for this, you need a specific mindset in order to see the opportunities and interacting with the right people. So, yeah, you are definitely right, and I agree. And you're not the first one that is mentioning some colleagues or people as their main career booster in the past. So this makes all sense. And yeah, that was like the end already of our stream.
There are just two things I want to mention.
Yes,
The
of
first
course.
one is have a look at the Google website for the TAM services, because it might change. It might change next week or next year or whenever you watch this video. So have a look there, that it doesn't look like I'm talking bullshit. And the second one is we are hiring again. So we are hiring in Paris, Warsaw, Milan, and in Frankfurt. And especially the TAM role in Frankfurt is with a very beloved team.
Mhm.
So check it out and apply.
I think with you in a team.
Actually not. Actually not.
Actually not. Okay.
Actually not. But it is. It is our neighboring team, and they're very great people, very great boss, and definitely worth applying.
Nice. So thank you very much, Tobias, for taking the time and giving us the insights to your role as a technical account manager at Google. I think it was a great session. I learned a lot. I had many false assumptions about this role. Now I have more clarity, and I hope also the audience learned something and increased and like the interest in this role is increasing. At least that is my hope for it. And yes, maybe before I give you the handover to the last words, let me introduce two more events for next week. So next week we will have two more online live streams. The first is a learning lunch where we are talking or discovering the developer job market with official statistics. Therefore, we will also have a great guest. And the another one is on Thursday, is together with a guest again about a culture and diversity manager. And therefore, I'm also really curious to learn more about this role. And if you find it interesting, register for the events. You find us on the different platforms, and then we will see each other next time again. And finally, if you want to say anything for the ending, Tobias, it's your stage.
I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak here and for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thanks, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you,
Bye
same to you.
bye.
Bye bye.